Madhyali Charanam, Jayanandalala. Today's topic is Lord Kuberan. Kubera is the Lord of wealth. When we think of Kubera, we always think of wealth, gold, all the material gains is who Kubera is. He provides all that. Now, as always, we go to the roots. How did he become Lord Kubera? How was he assigned that role? And by who was he assigned that role? Who gave it to him? What was he before that? So let's go and understand it. We go to the roots and understand everything, right? So here we want to understand how he became who he is now. Now, Kubera had a last life, and in that he was a very ordinary Brahmin. He was a beautiful boy with a lot of good qualities, and his parents named him Gunnidhi. Gunnidhi means noble, who stands for righteousness, good qualities, all that put together. And that is who he was. Then somehow as he grew up, he got into bad company. And this is what happens, right? That's why they always say, make sure you're in the good company. Sometimes the mind is so, like we did do the session on controlling the mind. And that's when we realize how flickery it's like a mouse. It's like those deers. It's like here and there. It jumps. There's no prediction. You can't predict where a deer would go, You can never predict that it's going to run in this direction. It'll just take a about turn and run here. So that's how our mind is. So always be in good company. So poor Gunnidhi, what happened to him? He went into the bad company and did a lot of bad deeds that when his father came to know, he told him to leave the house. He asked him to get out of the house. And so there was no home now. There was no roof over his head, no shelter, no food, no job. Gunnidhi is roaming around. So what will happen? He has no means now. So he has to snatch it. So he started stealing. He used to steal food. He became a thief. Now one fine day, it was Shivaratri. And he sees a Shiva temple nearby. And there's a big, pomp and there's a lot of joys. Everybody's singing and it's a big grand event, obviously. Shivaratri goes the whole night, right? It's like a joyous event. So he goes inside the temple and he looks at the Naivedyam over there. It's like set up beautiful. It's so many varieties of food in front of the Lord. He was so hungry and he wanted them. So he waited and waited. And Shivaratri is Shivaratri, right? It's like the whole night. It's never ending. So it went on and on. And he was waiting. And then somehow it got done and everybody wrapped up and they all went. And then some of the remaining food, which was a lot, was still there under the lingam. It was there below the lingam. It was all set up there and he was just having his eye on that. And suddenly he was going to get up and everybody left. He was going to get up and the lights, all the lamps in the temple went off and it was pitch dark. It was pitch dark and nothing visible. Then he took his, he had a towel on his body, covering his body. He took it and he wrapped it on a stick, and he took it to the smallest diya in the temple and, burnt that piece of cloth, and he had a big fire. He could see better, and he led the way with that, with the help of that. He saw where he was going, and he could get to the food. Now he grabbed the food, and then he saw a lot of jewelry and a lot of other things also, and he wanted all that too. He grabbed whatever he could, and then when he was going, he tripped on somebody, a devotee who was sleeping there. And that devotee obviously came to know who he was, a thief. And he screamed, and everybody got up and beat him up, and he was killed. So that was the end, the chapter of Gunidi. But then when you're killed, what happens? Yama's attendants are there to pick you up. The next, everybody do their job so meticulously. It's all done so beautifully. So Yama's attendants are there to pick up Gunidi. They pick him up. They go to the Yama's, Lord Yama's court, and Gunidi is standing there. And then they are starting the session, the whole process, when Shiva's attendants are there. Apparently, Lord Shiva is watching all this while it was happening in the temple, right? This is his temple. It is his place. And what do they say? There's an old saying. Obviously, it's not there in any scriptures or anything, but it's like a lot of people say this. When you go to Shiva temple, they kind of scare you, it's very scary. When you go to Shiva temple, you have to dust even yourself of the mud that is on you if you sit down there. You can't bring anything from the temple, is what they say. I'm not sure where they got that from, but just scaring you even more, right? About Lord Shiva. But yeah, Gunidi, forget the dust. He was going to steal food. He was going to steal the ornaments, jewelry, everything. Let's see what trouble he's in. So Lord Shiva's attendants, Shivaganas, are there at Lord Yama's court. And they say, we need this man. He's going with us. Lord Shiva wants to see him. Lord Yama cannot argue. He cannot argue when it comes to Lord Shiva. He's in a company, it's like the owner, Lord Yama says, yes, definitely. And he lets Gunidi go with him. Now he's brought in front of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is so pleased with the fact that he was waiting, it unknowingly he had fasted that day. It's so funny that Shivaratri, it happened to be Shivaratri. He had no food the whole day, and he had no food the whole night that the event was happening. The whole puja and all those rituals were happening. He's sitting and watching patiently, unknowing that he had fasted the whole day. And Lord Shiva was pleased. How easy it is to please the Lord. So easy to please the Lord. So he went and asked him to be picked up, and there he is now in front of him. And Lord Shiva says, I'm very pleased with you. Of course, Gunidi is very confused. And Lord Shiva says, I know you are unaware of it, but you fasted. You fasted on Shivaratri. And for that, and because you wanted all those riches and the gold and everything you saw there, you were attracted to all that. You get the boon. Next life, you will be the god of wealth. Whatever it is, the blessing will come with a little, everything is not granted, right? He did not get the good looks. He did not get all the, other things along with it. He got the material stuff. So that was given to him. So now his next life, let's understand his next life. So the Lord gave him the boon. Lord Kubera was born to sage Vishrava and Deva Varshini. They are the parents of Lord Kubera. Now, who is sage Vishrava? Sage Vishrava is the son of Pulasya. Pulasya is a rishi, is a Sapta rishi. And he is also the son of Lord Brahma. Now, that makes sage Vishrava grandson of Lord Brahma. Correct? And also, there's a sage Bharadwaja who was very, very, very impressed with sage Vishrava, that he gave his daughter Deva Varshini to him for marriage. So that's how Vishrava married Deva Varshini. Deva Varshini is sage Bharadwaja's daughter. Now, sage Vishrava was a very, very, very powerful rishi. At that time, during that time, it was a Treta Yugam, and the Asuras were totally defeated. And this was the time when they were totally defeated by the gods and Vishnu, Avataram, all that, and they killed all the powerful Asuras at that time. And now the scene was such that the demon, King Sumali, this is another Asura, and Queen Tadaka were all in discussion. They were discussing this whole scene, Oh my God, all the big Asuras are defeated. The lords are very powerful and we cannot do anything now. We have to stay calm and this is not right. This is not fair, kind of thing. Conversation is going on. How do we defeat the lords? Now, Sumali was very sad. The king of the Asuras, Sumali, was very sad that the lords had gained all the power. Now, Sumali says, we're so physically, we are very strong. Physically, we're all strong. I'm not understanding how they're so powerful. That's when Tadaka, his queen, says, we may be physically strong, but you know what we lack? We lack the power of penance. We lack the power of penance that the lords have, the rishis have, the munis have. We don't have the patience. So Sumali says, don't worry, I'll send a couple of my men and tell them to do penance. They'll get all the boons required. Tadaka says, no, it's not that easy. We're not talking about ordinary boons, ordinary gifts. We want a bigger one that can conquer the lords. And for that, we need a strong person. How do we do that? We have to think outside the box, she says. Sumali says, what are you saying? My queen? And then Tadaka explains, do you know we have a daughter? They have a daughter named Kaikesi. Now she's very beautiful. She's very beautiful. So she says, we can use our daughter to get to our mission, to succeed in our mission. So they call the daughter Kaikesi, and they tell her. So Tadaka says, do you remember Shukracharya? Shukracharya is the guru of all the asuras. So Shukracharya had mentioned to them once that sage Vishrava is the most powerful at that time. So Tadaka remembers those words and says, do you remember? Our guru had mentioned that sage Vishrava is the most powerful. We need to go and capture him somehow. And we use Kaikesi to do that. She can go and seduce him. And she can marry him. And then she can have sons. Those sons will do penance and get what we want. You see how beautifully she has planned? So now, Kaikesi, as planned, she goes to sage Vishrava's ashram, where he was doing penance. And there she looks at him and sees that aura around him, so beautiful. It's like a light around him. And she knew, this is the man I want to marry. She falls in love with him. She does seva for him. She does all the things around him. She provides with him with all the things that he needs for his rituals. And then suddenly out of the blue, she tells him, I want to marry you. He gets very angry and says, leave the place right now. Then again, Sumali comes in a very, respectable way, with all the respect that he can show as the going to be father-in-law. He comes and he asks for his hand for his daughter. With all due respect, Vishrava says, you're an asura. Why will I marry your daughter? My path is different. Your path is different. So Sumali says, no, I have left everything. I have not killed anybody. I have not hurt anybody. I have left all my asura qualities. I want only my daughter's happiness, he says. He pleads with him. He falls at his feet. He does everything possible to achieve his goals. Sage Vishrava falls for it, believes him, and gets married to Kaikesi. Now, they, as agreed, they have children, Dashamukha, Vibhishana, Kumbhakarna, and Shurpanaka. These are the four. You've heard of these names before? Dashamukha is the one who became Ravana later on. So these are the four children they have. Now, Dashamukha grew up learning all the Vedas and Shastrams and was very intelligent. Now, who's the father? Vishrava. They have planned this so well, Unlike other asuras, these four were very different. They were so well read in Vedas and Shastras that the other asuras couldn't even come close to them. Grandfather Sumali used to visit the ashram once in a while. He has to monitor, right? Things are going okay, everything is fine. So, and he used to talk to Dashamukha a lot. Dashamukha, you are a great warrior. Don't forget that. By mistake, don't become a rishi. He's always scared, because the father is Vishrava. What if Dashamukha also goes into the, sannyasi? Then what will he do? All his plans are gone, right? So he makes his visits once in a while frequently to remind Dashamukha what he's going to be. He's a great warrior. You're a great warrior, he keeps saying, And you're a natural leader. You're an exceptional leader. You'll be a very great leader for our asuras, he keeps saying. Dashamukha was in a phase where he was not totally grasping what his grandfather said. But remember, always, this is why they say bad company can, you know, affect you in the long run. So whatever you hear, right, it comes back. That's why they say, listen to good things. Always listen to good things. Even if it's news, listen to good things. That's what Amma used to say, reading the newspaper in the morning is not a good idea. A lot of us have this habit of reading the news in the morning. Yeah, we need to know the news in the morning. We need to know what's going on in the world. But it's not a very good idea because we grasp all that negative in the mind, and the whole day we discuss that with whoever we see. It's continuation of that negative the whole day. It's okay to read before, like around 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. in the evening. You give it a break and then you go to bed. You sleep it off. But then what happens when you read in the morning? It's like all that negative talk, we need to put an end to. It affects us. It affects the day. It affects our routine. We may not know it, but it does. Because the views of others would come in. They'll add more to it. Unnecessary, no? Remember? It's just, and nowadays, what is so good in the news? No good news. There is no, media is all about giving you drama. And we all get pulled into it. So that's what Amma was saying. But yeah, this is what happened to Ravana. Poor Ravana, right? This is exactly what happened. He's been listening to all this, right? Since he was growing up, his grandfather is coming and feeding it. And meanwhile, Kubera is also Vishrava's son from the other wife, right? He's growing up with all righteousness. He learns the Vedas, the Shastrams, everything. He's also very well versed. Same father, sage Vishrava, make sure he's also well learned in everything. And now he builds Lanka with the help of an architect, Vishwakarma. That's the Lord's architect. And it's a beautiful place. So who built Lanka? Kubera. Kubera built Lanka with a lot of penance. He actually got all this through his penance. He did so much penance, and Lord Brahma came and granted all this for him. The palace and the chariot, because he was deformed. Like I said, he was given all the wealth and all that, but it comes with a big price. He was deformed and he was not normal looking. He had a pot belly. All this came. It's a package. So the boon came with all this also on the side. He was not perfect. Now, he became the treasurer to the Devas. He earned it with his penance. And then he got Shiva's blessings also. He became a big bhakta of Lord Shiva. Now Sumali is watching all this. Sumali is watching that Kuberan is like climbing the ladder so fast, and Dashamukha is still here. He goes and feeds that into him. He's like, Dashamukha, your stepbrother is ruling Lanka. It's a big place. It's that, it's this, that, gold. And he fueled all that nonsense, you know. And Dashamukha and his brothers, all of them together do a severe penance. They do a severe penance for many, many years. And Lord Brahma shows up. Dashamukha says, please make me immortal. Brahma says, I can't. I cannot do that. It's against the laws of nature. Okay, then I wish to be more powerful than Devas and Yakshas and everybody. He gave a long list. Obviously, human being was not in the list. He gave a long list. He covered everything. He gave animals everything. But he did not say human being. Brahma happily said, Tatastu. Okay. Now we know how Ravana gets killed by a human being, right? A mere human being, Lord Rama. Every time there's a loophole, every time there's a loophole in the boons that are asked. Now Sumali was very happy that Dashamukha got this very, very powerful, the boon granted. Now Dashamukha, having all that power, attacks Lanka, takes over Lanka, and asks Kubera to leave. Now sage Vishrava makes him understand, but Dashamukha is not a person who's going to understand. He conquers Lanka, takes it over, and Kubera is thrown out. Now, when Kubera is thrown out, he runs to Lord Shiva. Now, there is a temple, specifically, there is a temple in Tanjavur, and it's called the Sri Kubera Purishwarar temple. This is where Kubera comes and prays to Lord Shiva. It's also called the Tanjapurishwarar temple, and it's a very famous temple. This temple was the first temple here in Tanjavur. It's even before Brihadishwara. Now, when you say Tanjavur, you remember Brihadishwara, right? But this one is the oldest temple. And this temple is from where the place got its name, Tanjavur, because the Lord here is called Tanjapurishwarar. And the place got its name, Tanjavur, from this temple. The goddess is Anandavalli, and the Sthala Vriksham is Vanni Maram, Vanni tree. Now, the big lingam is Kubera Purishwarar, Tanjapurishwarar, faces west, and at the entrance, there are idols of Ganesha and Subramanya. Outside the sanctum is the beautiful Nandi Mandapam, and Anandavalli, the goddess here, faces south. And there's a beautiful Ganesha idol at the entrance of the shrine. On the way to the goddess's shrine, the idols of Lakshmi and Kubera performing puja to Lord Shiva is found. It's a very unique, beautiful sight. Now, why is Goddess Lakshmi and Kubera always? We always do the Lakshmi Kubera puja, right? So a lot of people are confused why Lakshmi is sitting with Kubera, right? So many people have that question. It's very simple. Kubera is the Lord of wealth, God of wealth, yes. But Lakshmi is the wealth. Lakshmi is the wealth. The wealth originates from Goddess Lakshmi. You know, she is the one who creates the wealth. Lord Kubera takes care of it. He's the guardian of the wealth. So he's the one who safeguards the wealth. So he distributes it to whoever needs it. Karma plays a big role. If in your karma, you need that wealth, it is the duty of Kubera to give it to you, to grant it to you. It's all in that thing, fate, karma. So Goddess Lakshmi decides where it has to go, and Kubera makes sure it goes there. So that is why these two are worshipped. They are both the main people in charge of the wealth department. They both are. So that's why Diwali also, they do the Lakshmi Kubera Puja. So both are needed, So in the end, performing puja to these two deities gives us the prosperity and abundance of all the good things. When I say all the good things, it's also enlightenment. It's also enlightenment. Because how to use that wealth properly, sensibly. If wealth is given to us, we should know how to channel it. We should know where it should go. That is also our duty. And for that, we need enlightenment. And that also Goddess Lakshmi grants us. It comes with it, So now back to Kubera. Kubera left Lanka after he was thrown out, and he came here, prayed to the Lord here in Kubera Purishwara temple in Tanjavur. And Lord Shiva is so happy with him. He's so pleased with him that he tells him to go and settle down in the bottom of Himalayas. So this is where he comes to later, after he's been kicked out of Lanka, Even his Pushpaka Vimanam is taken away from him. Ravana travels in Pushpaka Vimanam, which was actually originally Kuberan's vehicle. Now, Kubera set up another place in the Himalayas, and it's called the Alagapuri. It's called Alagapuri, which came to later on to be known as Alkapuri. It's in the upper Himalayas, a little bit upper Himalayas, and Kubera is known as the king of Yakshas. Who are the Yakshas? Yakshas are supernatural beings, kind of like spirits, So they're called nature spirits. Spirits are both, good and bad, but these are nature spirits. These spirits are the ones that guard the wilderness and the treasures that are buried underneath. They're the good spirits. So all of them, their king is Lord Kubera. And now they're all deformed. They're all hideous looking. But they say that the women, Yakshis, they are very good looking. Yakshinis, rather, are very good looking. And they can change forms, they can fly, they can disappear. They have all these powers. Now, all these magical powers they possess, Now, Yakshas are, like I said, guardians of treasures. And of course, Kubera is the treasurer of the gods. Now, these are all his attendants, kind of. Now, Kubera has a mongoose in his hand. If you've noticed this picture, he has a mongoose in his hand. Now, this mongoose, when it opens his mouth, gems fall out. It's not an ordinary mongoose. If he opens his mouth, a lot of gems fall out. Now, Kubera is also called the Nara Vahana. Nara is human. Vahana is vehicle. The one who rides a human being. Now, all other gods we know have an animal as its vehicle, right? The Lord Shiva has the bull, Nandi. Vishnu has Garuda. Lakshmi has the elephant. Durga has the lion. Now, Kubera has a man. What does it say? It indicates how man has become a slave to wealth. Big message there, right? So even today they say, if you see a mongoose, it's very lucky because he is the Vahanam of Kubera. So people in the village and all that, they actually keep a mongoose in their house. It's very lucky. And also the mongoose, if you have a mongoose in the house, snakes don't come. So they have two benefits. Now, Kubera is a very, very staunch Shiva Bhakta. Now, this is exactly why Lord Shiva wanted to keep Kubera next to him. He was like way in the south, right? Lanka. But Kubera was pulled closer to Lord Shiva. Because Lord Shiva likes him, he pulled him closer to him. Now, after Kubera's penance, after he was thrown out of Lanka, and he did his penance after coming to Kubera Purishwara temple, and he got Lord Shiva to be so happy. Lord Shiva was very happy with his penance. He made him the guardian of the north. So that was granted by Lord Shiva to Kubera. He was made the guardian of the north. Now, Lord Kubera is also seen sometimes with an elephant or a ram close to him. You'll find an elephant or a ram standing close to him. Now, by talking about yakshas, right, the Himalayan region, there are Yaksharaj is who Kubera is a local deity of the surrounding 11 villages in the area, in the Himalayas. So Lord Kubera is still prayed to as the Yaksharaj. And there are a lot of temples in this area and where they still pray to Lord Kuberan. Now, here in our Treta Yugam, it is believed that Lord Hanuman, when Lakshmana was hit by the powerful weapon and he fell, and the doctor, the Vaidya, said that they needed the special herb from the Sanjeevani mountain. And when the Hanuman brought the whole mountain because he didn't know which specific herb it was. And Lakshmana was saved, right? Now, Lord Hanuman had to go back and put that Sanjeevani mountain back where it belongs. So when he went back, he took a small brief stop. He made a small brief stop here in this spot in the Himalayas. This is where the sage Yaksha built a Hanuman temple, and it's still there now. It's in Jaku Hill. It's in Shimla. So it's still there now. And they say that there is a footprints of Hanuman are also visible here. Now, a lot of Pandit families with the surname Yaksh are found here in this area. It's the same, that Yaksha lineage. Now, this Jaku Hill temple, it's at a height of 2,455 meters above sea level. It's dedicated to Lord Hanuman and home to a large colony of monkeys. And this is believed to have happened during the Treta Yugam. But then in very recently, 21st century, the big statue of Hanuman was built in the same area. There was no statue before, but now they've built a statue and it's 108 feet tall. It's massive. Because Hanuman rested here, it is believed that the hill was flattened because of his weight. Now, this is where the temple was built. Temple is very old, but the statue was built in 21st century, which is 108 feet tall. Now, according from Lanka, Kubera went to Alagapuri, right? And from mortal, he went to immortal. See what the Dashamukha asked Brahma to give him what? No death, right? To make him immortal. Did he get it? No. But Kubera did not ask for it, but he got the position of the gods. He's one of the devas he got from Lord Shiva. So from mortal to immortal, from Lanka to Alagapuri, everything happened for Lord Kubera. Now, according to Vastu Shastras, Kubera built the first dam was built by Kubera on the Alaknanda River for supplying water to Alagapuri. Now, Lord Kubera's statue is found in Barahut, which is about 2,000 years old. There's a small story, where Lord Kubera plays a big role. When Lord Hanuman was a little boy, he thought the sun was an orange. It's a very cute story, I'm sure you all know this. He thought the sun to be a fruit, a mango or orange, something, and he went after it. He was like, zoom into the sky to capture the sun. Think about that. Lord Indra, seeing this, Lord Indra was tense, angry. He hit him with his Vajra. Lord Indra's Vajra is very powerful, very powerful. Now, when he hit the little boy with the Vajra, Hanuman fell down and was not waking up. Whose son is Hanuman? Vayu Putra Hanuman. Vayu's son. Vayu got angry. Vayu's what? Air. He got angry. And he stopped the supply of air everywhere. So no living being could breathe. Every life was the end. It was like a pause. All the gods went and pacified Vayu. Please take mercy. Don't do this. It's not good for the earth. It's not good for the universe. You should not do this and all that. All the gods came, and all the main gods, Vishnu, Shiva, all of them came and pacified Vayu. And all the gods not only did that, but they all came and gave Hanuman a boon. Hanuman Rama woke up. He's not an ordinary child. He's an avataram of Lord Shiva himself. What can happen to him? So he woke up. This was all done with a plan, right? He got all the boons now from all the gods without much effort. So all the gods came and gave Hanuman a boon that day. Kubera gave him a boon that he would never suffer from loss of mental courage. That is, this courage is so important, which most of us have a problem, keeping it going. Small trigger and we get all stressed out and worried and scared. So that was so important. And this, he got it when he was so young. Hanuman was so young. He didn't know what was coming. Or maybe he knew. He's the Lord, he knows. But he needed that. That mental courage was given to him by Kuberan as a boon. So at any battlefield, he will be strong and courageous, and he will not lose that self-confidence and power and strength. Kubera also owns a maze, and that maze would never harm Hanuman. This is the boon he got from Kubera. There's a small role that Kubera played in Hanuman's story, Now, coming to Dashamukha. Dashamukha, how did he become Ravana? How did Dashamukha become Ravana? Everyone will wonder why he was Dashamukha. Why didn't he remain Dashamukha, right? How did he become Ravana? When Dashamukha looted Lanka and snatched the Pushpaka Vimanam. He wanted to go on a stroll. And when you get a new car, you always want to go on a drive, right? So this is how he got the Pushpaka Vimanam from Kuberan. So he wanted to go on a stroll. So he started traveling in the Pushpaka Vimanam everywhere. He came to this highest point, Himalayas. It was beautiful. And then Mount Kailash. When he reached Mount Kailash, his Pushpaka Vimanam could not fly over it. It was like jerking. It was not flying over it. And he saw a bull below. Who was that? Nandi. He asked him, hey, that's how he called the bull. Hey, you, why is my Vimana, the Pushpaka Vimanam, not flying over this? Can you tell me? So Nandi looks up at him and he says, it's my Lord's abode. He lives there. Nobody can fly over it, he says. So, oh, is that so? Is that so? I'll show you. I will fly over it, he says. So Nandi curses him. And Ravana, on top of that, he calls him, you look like a monkey. To Nandi, he says, you look like a monkey. You'll see what I can do, he says. Nandi curses him. He got a curse from Nandi. Nandi curses him, saying, you will be brought down by monkeys. You called me a monkey, right? Wait and see, you will be brought down by monkeys, he says. See what happens when you give out words? You throw words and you bring misfortune on yourself, right? That's what happened to Dashamukha. Now he had to keep his word, right? He challenged Nandi. Now he goes below and he lifts the mountain slightly. The Lord Shiva and Parvati are playing dice. The scene in Kailasham is they're playing dice, and then suddenly the dice is going like this, slanted to one side. And Lord Shiva looks at it and smiles. He knows exactly what's happening. And Parvati looks at him, acknowledging it. And Lord Shiva, what does he do? He just puts the toe down. He presses his toe down. Just this toe. The first toe, he presses it down with a little force, and that's it. They heard a loud shriek. The whole world shook. That's how loud it was. Now what happened? When Lord Shiva did that, Dashamukha was stuck inside. He had lifted the mountain and he had gone under it. And when Lord Shiva pressed it, the whole mountain pressed down on him and now he was stuck. That's why he gave out that loud shriek. Now he could not get out of there because he can get out of there only if Lord Shiva allows him to. And he had to please Lord Shiva. He sang the Tandava Stotram. That is when he sang that Stotram, and Lord Shiva was very pleased. And he let him out. And he also named him Ravana. That's when he got the name Ravana. The one who made the world shiver is what that name means. He was so happy that he got that name. Who wouldn't? In the same mentality, he's the one who likes to be strong and powerful. So he was very happy to receive that name. So the name has it all. The one who made the whole world shiver, right? So That is how he got the name. Lord Shiva gave him that name. Seek this blessing, and he left back to Lanka. Now, this story kind of gives us an idea of how Lord Kubera became the lord of he became one of the devas, became the lord of wealth. And why we do puja to Lord Kuberan, goddess Lakshmi, and how Dashamukha became Ravana. And I'd like to do another session on how Ravana became the Asura. And who is Ravana? I want to go into the roots of that and make you understand that sometimes people are not bad per se. It's just the fate that makes them the person they are at that time. So we'll understand that better. So that way, we can see everybody as a good person. We can see everybody have a good point to them, good side to them. Our scriptures teach us everything. And it's important not to judge anybody, to give them a label. You can stay away, and let the goddess handle it, but we can't judge. We cannot label somebody saying bad or good. Everyone is good, period. It's how we see it. Madhyali Charanam, Jai Nandalal.